Hey there, welcome to Synth Seeker. My name is Luke. Today I wanted to do a relatively short video specifically around Omnisphere. Omnisphere 3 came out last week, or beginning of this week. It's out. And there's my feed is just full of Omnisphere 3 videos, which is fine. There's a lot of people with good things to say, with bad things to say, and I'm not here to, try and sway you whether you should get it or not. I just wanted to clear up or explain how I use it. I've been using Omnosphere since it came out. I'm a big Spectrasonics fan. I'm a total Eric Persing fanboy. I love his patch design all the way back from the Roland days. And here's a quick shot of my original install media for the first version of Omnisphere. So I've been in for a long time. But all my feed's full of all these videos, and I'm watching people for it, against it, and criticisms and praise and things like that. And there was one video he did with Eric Persington was talking with Nick Batt on Sonic State, and they were talking about the browser. And there seems to be some confusion, or at least a lot of discourse on whether there's too many sounds in Omnisphere, or whether it's a huge library, but some of them are kind of mid or vanilla, whatever mid means. I know that's a term my son used. I think it means like vanilla, like not boring, but like not astounding, but not bad. I don't know. Anyway, so I just wanted to share how I use Omnisphere, because I use it a lot and just describe my workflow, and maybe pull up. I'm going to do a quick example. This is not a contrived example. I'm working on an album. I've got a track here I'm working on, and I want to put another track, another layer of Omnisphere in this track. So I thought I would just do that here. It may be boring, but I'll try and edit it down so it's relatively succinct, and just talk about a few of the aspects of Omnisphere that people have been talking about. One of the things that people complain about, I think it's mostly, people on the internet, you mostly hear complaints, right? Because very few people get on the internet and say, everything's fine and my life is good, right? They all get on and say, I'm pissed about something and this is what it is. So Omnisphere is expensive. It's $500, and 200 if you're upgrading. And that's a lot for software, and especially in the face of things like Vital and other free tools. Why would you pay $500 for a soft synth? And there are other soft synths that are comparably expensive, or even more expensive in different packages and things like that. And for me, what it comes down to is I bought into it back in the day because I was using Spectrasonic sample libraries. I was using their Akai and Roland sample libraries and converting them over to use in Propellerhead's Reason, using a conversion tool. And they were great. And when Atmosphere came out, they were like, they took their sample libraries and were putting them in the Atmosphere synth and the Trilogy bass synth, and then when they revved it from Atmosphere to Omnisphere, I was like, I'm in. I totally want that. And they just kept rolling all of their sample content forward, right? They had the fidelity recordings, and they would just, when computers got strong, more powerful, they went from 44.1 to 48 kilohertz, and then, the quality just kept going up. And the synth kept getting more features, and it's just been a very good tool for the kind of music I make. And I really consider Omnisphere a very good production synth. If you're going to be making music and you're going to be making if whatever your genre or category of sound is, Omnisphere can serve you pretty well in there. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying it's the best tool, but it's very easy to use. It sounds good and has a really broad spectrum of sounds. And it's not just a rompler. You can tweak and tweak and tweak. You can make stuff from scratch, although I tend not to. You'll see here, I go through the preset library because it is massive, find something that's close, and then tweak it. And so anyway, that's sort of my approach there, and that's my justification for it. I like the content. I've always liked it, and they keep rolling it forward. let me do a little aside here. All right, so here we are. So all of Omnisphere's source material, everything, all the samples and synth stuff is in this folder called Steam. And Steam currently, and I have everything installed. Like if Spectrasonic makes a product or an expansion or extension for Omnisphere, I've got it installed. And the total size right now is just over 200 gigabytes. So 200 gigabytes of space if you install every possible product they offer. So that's Omnisphere, Trillion, Keyscape, all the Sonic extensions, all the tribute libraries like the Bob Moog tribute library, and a few others from the community I've got installed. So figure 200 gig for everything. So just heads up, that's the size of the full system. If you just install Omnisphere itself, I think it's like 125 gig or something like that. But someone on the net will correct me, I'm sure. Anyway, so let's get into how I use it from a production perspective, because it's just a great production tool. When I make music, this is a song I'm working on. My workflow these days is I start songs on the Ableton Move, like I like to couch compose, or I sit on my porch, nice in a rocking chair with a blanket, like an old man. It's getting cold. And I sit there with the Move-in headphones and write 4 tracks of a song, right? So this song started with these 4 tracks. And then I pull it into Ableton on the laptop when I want to work on it, and then add additional instrumentation to it, layers or orchestration or whatever. So in this song, I've got the original 4 synth sounds from the Move, and I'm just using them. The Move stuff sounds fine to me. And then I add to it. So I typically add a Rick bass. I like the Rickenbacker bass out of the Trillion library, which basically is pulling through Omnosphere. I like the Rhodes piano stuff. If you've listened to any of my other released albums or EPs, they've got a lot of Rick bass and a lot of Rhodes on it. If you've watched my live streams, it's the same way. But I've got these 2 sections of the song here that I want to add some chords to. Some chords in this one section and some chords over in this other section, right? And so I've put those in, and I didn't even play these in. These are actually, it's going to double 2 other parts. So this is doubling these 2 parts here, and this is doubling this part here. And I want to put a new layer on this, right? And so what I've got in there is a little drift synth from Ableton, so you can hear what this sounds like. What it's playing is the doubling of these parts, so I'll leave them there. All right, let's mute that synth for a second. So actually, here, I'll give you the context, right? So this is the loop, this little 16-bar segment, or 8-bar segment. And it currently sounds like this. All right, so yeah, it's not mixed or EQ'd or mastered. I'm in composing mode, right? I'm putting in the parts, and so I want to lay this new part on top of it, right? And I want to use an interesting synth sound. What I've got running there currently are like sort of bell-like plucks, right? Here we go, there, and the bass there behind it. So I want to put a layer in here playing those chords, and I've got a sort of direction I want to go in. I sort of want like a sidechain pumping thing. I want those plucks to hit, and then I want these chords here to be fading in, like sidechaining in, rising up behind it. And so I will go here. I'll pull out this drift synth. Right. I'll go to my library, to my third-party synths. I'll drop in an Omnisphere. Right. And then let's start looking for sounds. So I'll select this, I'll say a loop on this section, and I'll say we will listen to those other sounds in context with this one, and I'll just start it looping. All right, there's nothing selected here. right? So there's your Omnosphere. And so here's the Omnosphere 3 UI, right? And it's changed a little bit. It hasn't dramatically changed, right? The global controls have changed slightly, but if you click into the patch browser, this thing on the side is the mini browser. If you click into it, normally you would see all the sounds in their categories and tags and stuff here. Now there's this new concept of a directory, and the directory is just there. I'm oversimplifying, but it's basically them giving another layer of what direction do you want to take this in, Mr. Music Producer or Composer, right? And they've got these 18 sort of preset groupings, right, that are vibes, like analog vibes, classic digital vibes, retro vibes, electronic production, etc. And you pick what direction you want to go in, right? And I know I want something that's going to have like this pumping, rising thing. So I'm like, all right, that's a clubby sort of thing or an electronic production thing. So let's go, I'm going to say club, right? And then I can say, and you basically filter down. You say, okay, I want synth sounds. I want polyphonic synth sounds, right? And then once you've made a directory and category selection, this list over here populates and says, well, here's all of the sounds that are in that category, right? And you might say, well, that's too many. Okay, well, that's what preset surfing is. We're going to start picking through them. But you could filter this down further. You could pick a mood and say, I'm looking for something that's, so pumping, electronic production, club pumping. We'll say party maybe, and go take a listen. And you can go play on your controller, right? You could be like, right? That's got that rising sort of behavior. And so what I'll do is I'll just let the segment loop and I'll start moving through these, right? And it's not, right, it's definitely needs its level adjusted just a little bit. We'll bring it down some. That's not bad, right? May not be appropriate. Let's put in the rest of the track just to hear it in context here. And we'll go. I'm not sure I like the timing, and it's real buzzy. So let's go back to our global controls and let's bring the cutoff down. That's actually sort of clipping it or making it crusty. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is, right? So that I don't like it. So we'll just keep moving on, right? So we can keep going. You could stay in the mini browser here and just keep moving through. So you could use the mini browser and have access to the controls here. Right. So this direction I've chosen. I want to have this sort of club rising thing, and that might be a dead end, right? I'm like, maybe not so much. Maybe I want something a little rhythmic. So we've got this sort of steady beat going on, bump, 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 right? It's on the backbeat of each of those. So let's go to, and you can sort of revert back to pre-Omnisphere 3. You can say, just show me everything in Omnisphere. And it's like, all right, well, what category do you want? Well, I want something arped, some sort of arpeggiation here. That's fine. We'll go to the larger browser. I like being able to filter down by keyword and stuff, right? So I want something that's tempo-based, and I want it to be spacey, right? And do I want all Omnisphere, or do I want to filter down to a vibe? I'll leave it as all Omnisphere now. Now, this is still a really big list, right? But let's see. I don't know. Let's pick something random. All right, it's a little quiet. Let's bring it up a little bit. But that fits the vibe a little bit better. Right, that's not bad. It's a little plodding. I think I might want that ARP to run a little faster. And let's do this. Let's loop it and bring that up. And let's play with the ARP now. So we've got a sound we like. Maybe bring the filter up. Interesting. So it's an early piece of software. So this has changed. I'm bringing the cutoff what I thought I was bringing the cutoff up, but its kilohertz is only going, there it is, 20s. It's getting quieter, like it's as though I'm clamping down. So what does that mean? Does it mean it's a high pass filter? It's probably a high pass, and that I'm actually closing the high pass by doing this, right? So you got to think about what you're doing. You could go in and look and say, what kind of filter is this? Right, this is a modified filter, and it's a high pass, right? So, okay, so that's what turning this cutoff up is actually closing the high pass filter. So you do have to drill in and, know the synth to a certain degree to make the macro controls make sense, right? So the behavior is logical, just maybe not obvious. I said I was going to change the ARP around, so here's the ARP running. I love Omnisphere's ARP. Omnisphere's arpeggiator is super powerful, but let's play just very basic. Let's see, 16th notes, let's take it up to 32. I like that more. All right, so I want it a little bit brighter, right? So let's look at these sound samples. So we're using a kalimba, and we're using this bowed, whatever that is, a legno, co-legno. So if nothing else, Spectrasonics uses some just bizarre instrumentation for their sample sources. I want to play with this a little bit. We can change the samples manually or things like that, but it does have that new mutate function that I haven't really scratched yet. So let's do this. Let's go to main. Let's look at the layers. So we've got these two layers, A and B. In theory, if I click mutate, it'll sort of randomize these sources. But we can always go back. So let me save what I'm doing just to be have an easy way to revert. And let's try click and mutate for a bit. Let's try this. Mutate. Oh, okay, I don't like that. Yep. So this is the trouble with mutate, right? Mutates, they say mutate, but it's a randomized function, right? There's an extreme version. So I think it's swapping out the samples based on the constraints of the family of the sample it was based on. So, you know, if you're in this weird place with these strange world ethnic instruments, you could get some weird stuff, which I'm definitely getting. I'm not liking this right now. Oh, that's not bad. Still too bright. It's not like mutate is a make sound good button, but let's see. That's interesting. It's still a little too forceful. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to revert back to where I was. Now, how do we do that easily? I don't know. In this new browser, now that I've mutated, what do I do to go back to where I was? That's shuffle, sort. If I want to jump, oh, there it is. There's a back button on the mutations. And that takes me back to, there we go. Okay, so there's a way to back out of the mutations. There is a back button. Good to know. All right, I do want that to be a little bitier. And so I could do that within the synth. Let's see. We've got some common effects. We've got layer effects. Let's listen to the layers real quick. Here, let's isolate it. Solo that pluck. And are we looping? I think we are. Yeah, we're looping. All right, so we got two layers, this one and this one. Let's mute this B. Nope. B doesn't seem to be doing anything as far as these plucks are concerned. It may be part of like if I sustain it. So everything's pretty much coming from the A layer, the way I'm playing it. All right, so we've got some options for how we want to manipulate this. We can bring in unison or FM, the new frequency shifter, granular stuff. Let's see what happens when we apply unison. More depth, more detune. It's almost the detuned to the point where I don't like things that are too detuned. All right, well, maybe not unison. Let's look at doing a little FM. This could be too gross. Again, we're entering this detuned place where I'm not liking it. But maybe that's your bag. Yeah, no. Okay, so not FM. We are utilizing the ring mod right now. Let's bring the depth up. That's better. Yeah, I want to bring in some like high frequency stuff. This is the classic example of we turn the knob and we don't hear anything different. I could see that it's changing the modulation symmetry, but I don't know. Nope. Sync brings in a little bit more. That's too bright. I think that's a good little, if that's where we were, that's a little bit more. Let's hear it in context. Yeah, and now there's the small matter of mixing it and getting it to sit right and maybe applying other effects, right? Because you could, I like things, you know, outside the synth as well. I'm a big believer in things like Ableton's Roar for adding a little texture to things, you know, using distortion to add some alternate timbral content. All right, let's hear it with the drums too. It's not bad. I still want the, it's a little too plodding. I want the ARP to run a little faster. So let's do that again. It's good to know when you mutate and go back, it reloads the default patch, right? So the change I had made to the ARP was reverted back to the original one. All right, so I'll buy that for now. I'm liking this. I'll play with it more. Let's look at this other section over here. So this was. All right, so let's hear it in context. I think that'll do for now. I mean, this is good enough for a video. I'll continue to play with this, tweak the sound a little bit. I do want to dirt it up a little bit, and I don't know if I'll do that in Omnisphere or if I'll start putting some distortions behind it. But that works in both of these cases where we've got sort of a more syncopated clip. This one here, right, where the notes are not falling on the grid cleanly all the time, right, and it's working there. And then we've got this clip where it's more sort of steady on the backbeat. And so that's my sort of workflow for Omnisphere and my justification for why I like it. I think it's a really good production workhorse, right? It has some really, in the same way I like the Nord hardware synths because they are these sort of production workhorses. They're the middle of the road, we can do a bit of everything. Omnisphere has, I think it's actually better because it has a bit of everything, but it's also got the weird edges in there as well. The library is just so big, and your ability to manipulate sounds is much broader than to pick on the Nord. Like if I pick on the A1 or the Wave 2, I love those synths, they're awesome. Love the hardware. But they're definitely limited, and whereas Omnisphere being software is just not as limited. And so you've got a huge, fantastic library of source material and the ability to tweak it as much as you want and totally mangle stuff. But yeah, it's expensive, and there are other tools that are free or much less expensive, and you can use those certainly. Use them all, right? Buy more synths, get all the synths. But as far as the new browsing stuff, it seems to work pretty much the same as the old one with an added layer of filtering for vibe, basically. So you can say, I'm looking for something I'm scoring a film. I want to go in that direction. And it will constrain that, 40,000, however big that library is, that 200 gigabyte library, down to things that they feel, and it's their opinion, right? It's their opinionated sort of idea of what's good for scoring or will inspire you if you're doing film scoring, or if you're doing club, bangers, or you're going to do pop tunes or whatever. I think it's a fantastic tool, and that is how I use it. So hope that was entertaining or informative. Omnisphere is all over all of my music. I use it everywhere, all the streams, all the albums. It's probably my favorite tool. So I'm looking at you, Korg synths. I know. Don't give me that look. The Korg native synths are sad because they're getting neglected. But anyway, thanks for spending time with me here. I will try and edit this down into a coherent video instead of this incoherent mess it is right now. Thanks for spending time with me. I appreciate it. You have a great Halloween coming up in a couple days. Halloween is what, tomorrow? Yeah, so have fun with that if you do Halloween where you live. Otherwise, see you later.